Alright, it's wintertime, 1935. State tests again. Oh, that reminds me. I saw something on the governor's webpage saying that there was no SGOs this year. I don't know what that means. If we're going to have state tests or what, who knows? We'll see. Alright, state tests again. Miss Freeland said, our grade topped the entire state of Oklahoma on the state tests again, 24 points higher than the state average. I wish I could go run home and tell Ma, see her nod and hear her say, I knew you could. It would be enough. Right, so she's kind of missing her mother. Christmas dinner without the cranberry sauce. Miss Freeland was my ma at the school Christmas dinner. I thought I'd be the only one without a real ma, but two other motherless girls came. We served turkey, chestnut dressing, sweet potatoes, and brown gravy. Made it all ourselves, and it came out pretty good, better than the Christmas dinner I made for my father at home, where we sat at the table, silent, just the two of us. Being there without Ma, without the baby, wouldn't have been so bad if I'd remembered the cranberry sauce. My father loved Ma's special cranberry sauce, but she never showed me how to make it. Driving the cows. Dust piles up like snow across the prairie. Dunes leaning against fences. Mountains of dust pushing over barns. Alright, so there might be a few words that you don't understand here. Prairies is just the grasslands. It's just grass. And a dune is like a mountain of sand, essentially. So there's just like giant piles of sand like stacked against these farmhouses. Joe de la Flor can't afford to feed a cow. He can't afford to sell them. County Agent Dewey comes, he takes the cow behind the barn, and he shoots them. Too hard to watch their lungs clogged with dust, like our chickens suffocated. Better let the government take them than suffer the sight of their bony hides sinking down into the earth. Joe de la Flor rides the range. Come spring he'll gather Russian thistle, pulling the plant while it's still green and young, before the prickles form, before it breaks free to tumble across the plains. He gathers thistle to feed what's left of the cattle, his bone-thin cattle he drives away from the dried-up Beaver River, to where the Cimarron still runs, pushing the herds across the breaks, where they might last another week, maybe two, until it rains. First rain. Sunday night, I stretch my legs in my iron bed under the roof. I place a wet cloth over my nose to keep from breathing dust, and I wipe the grime tracings from around my mouth, and I shiver thinking of Ma. I am kept company by the sound of my heart drumming. Restless, I tangle in the dusty sheets, sending the sand flying, cursing the grit against my skin, between my teeth, under my lids, swearing that I'll leave this forsaken place. I hear the first drops like the tapping of a stranger at the door of a dream. The rain changes everything. It strokes the roof, streaking the dusty tin, ponging a concert of rain notes, spilling from gutters, gushing through gullies, soaking in the thirsty earth outside. So there's lots of figurative language going on here. What is gutters, gushing gullies an example of? Gutters, gushing gullies. What is that an example of? What is that an example of? Do you remember? Yeah, that's alliteration. Good. Soaking into the thirsty earth. What's that an example of? That one's harder. Soaking into the thirsty earth outside. What is that an example of? Much more difícil. The clue is thirsty earth. What is thirsty earth an example of?
Personification?
Yeah, that's personification. Good. Monday morning dawn. So these stanzas here are filled with like figurative language all over the place. Monday morning dawns cloaked in mist. That's more alliteration. I button into my dress, slip on my sweater, and push my way off the porch. sticking my face into the fog, into the moist skin of the fog. Again, that's repetition there. The sound of dripping surrounds me as I walk to town. Soaked to my underwear, I can't bear to go through the schoolhouse door. I want only to stand in the rain. Right, so this is kind of quite opposite of what normal people would do, right? So normally, if we're like soaked, we want to get inside because we don't want to be any rained on anymore. She's like soaking in this rain because again, these people just want this rain to help their lives. Monday afternoon, Joe Delafleur brushes mud from his horse. Mr. Kincannon hires my father to pull his old out the bunk on Route 64. Later, when the clouds lift, the farmers surveying their fields nod their heads as the frail stalks revive. Everyone, everything, grateful for this moment, free of the weight of the dust. Right, so everyone's kind of like having this happiness for a short period of time because the rain's coming and like making their lives better. Hayden Pinay? Hayden Pinay died this week. I knew him to wave. He liked the way I played piano. The newspaper said when Hayden first came, he could see only grass. Grass and wild horses and wolves roaming. Right, so they kind of include this detail to kind of show you that this guy's been there forever. Like he's been there a long time. Then folks moved in and the sod got busted and bushels of wheat turned to plains to gold. And Hayden Pinay grabbed the Oklahoma panhandle in his fist and he held on. By the time the railroad came in on land, Hayden sold them. The buffalo and the wild horses had gone. Some years, Hayden and I saw the sun dry up his crop, saw the grasshoppers chew it down, but then came years of rain, and the wheat thrived, and his pockets filled, and his big laugh came easy. Right, so they're kind of like emphasizing like this guy's gone through hard times and he's gone through good times. They buried Hayden and I on his land, busted more sod to lay down his bones. Will they sow wheat on his grave, where the buffalo once grazed? Right, so it's kind of just reflecting on like how things are cyclical. Right, so it goes from good to bad to good to bad. Right. Scrubbing up dust. Walking past the Crystal Hotel, I saw Jim Martin down on his knees. He was scraping up mud that had dried to a crust after the rain mixed with dust Sunday last. When I got home, I took a good look at the steps, and the porch, and the windows. I saw them with Ma's eyes and thought about how she'd been haunting me. I thought about Ma who would have washed clothes, beaten furniture, aired rugs, scrubbed floors, down on her knees, brush in hand, breaking that mud, like the farmers break sod, always watching over her shoulder for the next duster to roll in. Right, so she's thinking that she's being like haunted by the memory of her mom and her um, desire to like keep the house clean. My stubborn Ma, she'd been doing it all with my brother Franklin to tend to. She never could stand a mess. My father doesn't notice the dried mud. At least he never tells me. Not that he tells me much of anything these days. With Ma gone, if the mud's to be busted, the job falls to me. It isn't the work that I hate. The knuckle-breaking work of beating mud out of every blessed thing. But every day my fingers and hands ache so bad. Remember, she's got burned hands. I think I should just let them rest. Let the dust rest. Let the world rest. But I can't leave it rest on account of Ma. So again, more repetition there. Haunting, right? So she feels like she's haunted by the memory of her mother and the fact that the mom always used to clean the house up from being dirty. Outlined by dust. My father stares at me while I sit across from him at the table. While I wash dishes in the basin, my back to him, the picked and festered bits of my hands in agony. Right, so it's painful for her to wash these dishes. He stares at me as I empty the wash water at the roots of Ma's apple trees. He spends long days digging for the electric train folks when they can use him, or working here nursing along the wheat, what there is of it, or digging the pond. He sings something sometimes under his breath, even now, even after so much sorrow. He sings a man's song, deep with what has happened to us. It doesn't swing lightly, the way Ma's voice did, the way Miss Freeland's voice does, the way Mad Dog sings. My father's voice starts and stops, like a car short of gas. Again, that's a simile. Like an engine choked with dust. But then he clears his throat and the song starts up again. He rubs his eyes the way I do, with his palms out. Ma never did that. He wipes the milk from his upper lip same as me, with his thumb and forefinger. Ma never did that either. We don't talk much. My father never was a talker. Ma's dying hasn't changed that. I guess he gets the sound out of him with the song he sings. I can't help thinking how it is for him, without Ma, waking up alone, only his shape left in the bed, outlined by dust. He always smelled a little like her first thing in the morning, when he left the bed and went out to do the milking. She'd scuff into the kitchen a few minutes later, bleary-eyed, to start breakfast. I don't think she was ever really meant for farm life. I think once she had bigger dreams, but she made herself over to fit my father. Now he smells of dust and coffee, tobacco and cows. None of the musky woman smell left that was Ma. He stares at me, maybe he's looking for Ma. He won't find her. I look like him. I stand like him. I walk across the kitchen floor with that long-legged walk of his. I can't make myself over the way Ma did. And yet, if I could look in the mirror and see her in my face, if I could somehow know that Ma and baby Franklin lived on in me, but it can't be. I'm my father's daughter. Right, so she's kind of recognizing that she has a lot more in common with her father than she did with her mother, but she's still longing for her presence. All right, so this is the last chapter we're going to look at. Is the President's Ball. The ball is like a dance. All across the land, couples are dancing, arm in arm, hand in hand at the birthday ball. My father puts on his best overalls. I wear my Sunday dress, the one with the white collar. We walk to town, to the Legion Hall, and join the dance. Our feet flying, me and my father, on the wooden floor, whirling, to Arlie Wanderdale and the Black Mesa Boys. Till 10, when Arlie stands up from the piano to announce that we raised $33 for infantile paralysis. A little bit better than last year. Right, so again, I'm probably assuming that the reason why these kids were getting paralyzed was polio. So remember, people got vaccinated from polio, so we don't have polio problems anymore because there was a vaccine during the 30s to get rid of it. So now people don't get polio. I remember last year when Ma was alive, and we were crazy excited about the baby coming. I played the same party for Franklin D. Roosevelt in Joyce City and Arlie. Tonight, for a little while, in the bright hall, folks were almost free of dust, almost free of debt, almost free of fields with a wheat. Most of the night, I think I smiled. Twice my father laughed. Imagine. Right, so this is kind of like a little bit of a break from their awful lives. They're kind of enjoying themselves and they're all happy. All right, so you're going to go on Socrative. Let me share this with you.